Hello everyone. Today we're going to go over how to create an RDS instance in AWS. To get started, you're going to want to head over to aws.amazon.com/console and click create an AWS account. Now, you really want to make sure for this tutorial that you are in a 12 months of free tier access, so you have a brand new AWS account. The only way to get this is if you don't already have one. You really need a unique email, unique billing address, unique credit card. They will try to match this up against everything you have to make sure that you can't cheat the system. So if you don't have this, then you'll have to pay roughly 50 cents to $1 a day to be able to keep the instance running. But if you can make a new AWS account and get this 12 months of free tier access, it's really good for these tutorials. I already have an account, so I'm going to sign in. And make sure you choose root user, not IAM user, because this will make a lot of our tasks easier to give ourselves permission for what we need. When you first log in, you're going to get prompted to this service console, where you can find all the different services AWS offers. We're interested in RDS, the relational database service, and you use this whenever you want any type of SQL database, whether it be MySQL or PostgreSQL. Now at the top, you'll see Create Database, but this is for Amazon Aurora, which is a more advanced and costly version than what we need, so we're not going to use that one. Scroll down until you see Create Database for RDS. Click Create Database. Make sure it's on Standard Create. We want to choose PostgreSQL, and then it should pop up in a moment here, but now we have the free tier option. You want to make sure you check that. For our Postgres version, you can use any version really. I'm just going to go ahead and set it on the latest one, 12.3. Now the database identifier, this doesn't matter, so you can leave it as database1. The username, I'm going to set this as my name. Password, I'll use Toblerone. Now there's a few options we got to make sure we configured so we don't get paid or charged no matter what. The enable storage auto scaling, we don't want that. And for additional connectivity configuration, you want it to be publicly accessible. This is going to be useful when we need to have our Lambda functions later connect to the database to be able to read and write to the database. The database port, you can leave it as 5432. It's not an issue. That's the standard for PostgreSQL. Now under here in additional configuration, you want to disable the automatic backups, and everything else looks good. So once you have all those options selected, you can click Create Database. And from here, it'll take anywhere from 1 to 10 minutes to be able to set up, create the database, and this status will change to a green check mark. And once that's done, you have your database created. With the database created, we'll have some endpoints and port numbers here for us to be able to connect to in a moment. Now that our database is up and running and it says available, and we have this endpoint and port, we need to be able to connect to it to make sure that it's working fine. For that, we're going to use a tool called pgadmin. So go ahead and Google pgadmin, click on the first link, and we're going to go to downloads. I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to download the Mac OS version of this. Now that it's done downloading, we're going to go ahead and install it. You want to move this to your applications folder. And once it finishes going to applications and we run it, it's basically going to open a port on your computer that allows you to connect to databases. A common problem that people might have is when you open it once and you close the tab and try to go back, you won't be able to access it. So to fix that problem, you go to Activity Monitor, you search up pgadmin, and whatever process is running for it, you would just kill it. That's just a common problem and the easiest solution on how to solve that. It's moved in here, so we're going to go ahead and open this now. pgadmin. Some of you may have security settings that block applications from the outside to be downloaded. The easiest way to fix that is go to System Preferences, Security and Privacy, General, and make sure that this button down here is Allow Apps Downloaded from App Store and Identified Developers. Now we're going to go ahead and click Add New Server, and the details from this server are going to be based on whatever we have in our RDS instance. So for this, you can just call it AWS RDS. When we go to connection, we're going to take this endpoint as our host. The port is going to stay the same. The name Postgres will stay the same. For username, you're going to put whatever you entered. I did Saran123, and I put my password as Toblerone. And you might have also been prompted to choose a master password for pgadmin, and you can set that to whatever you want as well. That just saves your servers that we add later on. Click Save Password, and looks good. We're going to go ahead and try to connect. When we hit save this first time, you notice that it says timeout expired. That's because in our RDS instance, we never added a security rule that allows you to connect to it from the outside. One of the most common mistakes with AWS is this connection timeout, because there is a lot of different security rules and policies to learn in AWS that allows you to access your services from the outside world. So to fix that, we're going to go here to Security, click on our default security groups. We're going to choose Actions, Edit Inbound Rules, and we want to add a rule, and this rule will be all traffic from my IP. You're going to go ahead and hit Save Rules. And now, if this works right, when we go back to our RDS instance, when we try to connect to it from Postgres, it should allow it to connect to it from only our current IP address. I'm at my house right now, so when I'm at my house, it'll let me connect to it. If I wanted to test it locally from somewhere else, I would need to add another rule with the IP of wherever I'm trying to do it from. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to hit Save. And now, everything loaded up fine. So this is going to be our database. You can see all the different things in it, like if we had schemas, or if we had any tables. You can get some SQL properties for any commands that you're trying to run. Overall, this is a very useful client for being able to see what's in your database at any given time. You'll also notice this one that says RDS admin down here. This is something Amazon uses internally to make updates to the database, so you don't ever need to be able to connect to this, so you can just ignore that. And now that we have this working, we've confirmed that our RDS instance is up and available for us to connect to. And in the next tutorial, we will see how to be able to read and write to this database in Python, and then read and write to the database using a Lambda function in Python.